welcome up our final guest, Jenny. Please come join us. We'll do some musical chairs. Thank you so much for joining. Hello, hello. What brought you to Bookham, the local area? What do you love about it?
Yeah, so I grew up by Epsom Downs, so I've always been kind of local. Went to Fairfield School, so that's how I came in the area. Yeah. Most of my team happened to. But then I moved away for a few years, had no intention of moving back to Surrey, and a friend of mine sent a job spec for a job at Leatherhead Youth Project and was like, would you be interested? And I was like, no. And actually gave it to my housemate and was like, you should apply for this. And she was like, no, you should. So that went on for a couple of months and I eventually applied. And it was only really the interview that I fell in love with the job. So actually I had no intention to do it until the interview. Yeah, there was no real plan there. And since moving back, I worked at Leatherhead Youth Project, but based in Bookham. So I ran the Bookham side of Leatherhead Youth Project.
Oh my gosh, that's
my
absolutely
housemate
amazing.
now also works for Leatherhead Youth Project. So it all worked out in the end.
So actually, you were sort of right.
Yeah, that's what I claim. She's like, I was also right.
Yeah, and you get to be a team together, which is really, really lovely.
I realised before in that the other day, I let her do a youth talk for us. And she brought up all our uni stories about doing pranks, and I was like, oh, I thought you were joking.
Could have been worse uni stories, to be fair.
True. So, yeah.
No, I'm sure there's nothing. That's really exciting. What sort of brought you to working with young people? Why are you passionate about that?
Yeah, I think, well, initially I was planning on doing engineering at uni. So my A-levels are maths, physics and chemistry, maths, physics and further maths, and chemistry. So I had no intention of doing youth work at all. You
couldn't be more sciencey if you tried.
No, I picked my A-levels on what didn't involve essays.
Yeah.
Turns out, if you do a theology with youth work degree, you have to do essays. So it was a complete switch. I took a gap year just for a year out. I was like, actually, I need some headspace. Having done those A-levels, I'm taking a year. Worked in my local church for a year doing youth work and just fell in love with it in a way that I just never had with engineering. I loved seeing how things worked, but doing youth work was just a complete different thing. So yeah, went and did a year in Cape Town and then came back and did a degree in youth work. Turns out you can do that.
Oh, wow, gosh, that is really amazing. And how long have you been doing this in Leatherhead/Bookham?
So just over 3 years.
Okay.
So I managed a year and a half before any of the lockdowns, which was quite useful.
Yes, definitely. What are some of the challenges of your job and what are some sort of the best bits?
Probably both sides would be young people. So one of the biggest challenges is, we did a residential recently, and when it's 1 a.m, and you've got all like discussions going on, but also any safeguarding issues that come up on trips, and just all the conversations that are happening, and you learn that young people's lives can be really tough. And so that's one of the tough parts of the job, when it's sort of 1 a.m, you've got to keep patience and still sort of provide the safe space. But then also, the pro of that is actually when you see young people making massive changes in their own lives, and you get to see actually all the video games you played have now led to all these conversations, and they're coming back to you and being like, okay, I'm applying for this job, I'm going to go do this, I've worked out this. They're the best bits. So yeah, kind of pros and cons of that side.
Wow, so you sort of see a bit of a progress. I guess because you've been there for 3 years, you've gotten to know some of the young people really well.
Yeah, and I've had the blessing of meeting young people that I went to school with who've actually gone through LYP, and they'll talk about how it changed stuff for them. So even though I've only been there 3 years, I'm meeting young people that were way before then.
Wow. Do you have any examples of where you've seen God really working recently?
Yeah, I think one of the big ones with our young people is when we are having those tough days, they'll be like, how do you keep having so much patience with us? And most of our young people don't realise our team are Christians.
That's an amazing question to ask someone as well.
Yeah, they'll just be like, oh, you keep giving me second chances, why is that? Why do you do this when we just come and annoy you? And they will, some of the older ones will come and ask you very bluntly why. And so that's an amazing testimony to us that actually it does make a difference, because we're like, we don't have that much patience. Half the time we get really frustrated.
Yeah.
So I think seeing that, but also for me, it's just knowing there's something more. Sometimes there's so many practicalities where like funding will fall through, or a team will change, or young people will sort of seem to take a step back and things. You're like, oh, it's going so well. And I think just knowing there's more to life is such an encouragement when you're having those days.
Yeah. And I guess when things aren't going well, you've got somewhere where you can put your hope and be like, actually, God's got them as well.
Yeah.
Because I know with working with young people in my job, it's only so much you can do, then you just really have to trust that
Yeah, definitely.
you've done everything you can and God's got the rest, but it's quite hard.
Yeah, it's like if we care this much, He definitely cares about them a whole
Yeah,
bunch more.
100%. Have any of you sort of had any really key, youth workers or anything like that that really encouraged you at one point?
Yeah, I remember going to our youth group. It had 90 people in it.
Wow.
It's called Wednesday Youth Fellowship, and there was this wonderful couple, Les and Joy. And recently, unfortunately I didn't get there, but it was Les's funeral, and there were well over 100, so a couple of hundred people there, and all sharing their stories of faith, how their lives have been improved and developed, and the places they'd gone and the changes they'd made, and just the difference they were making in their world. And I just thought, this was just a couple. They were both teachers. They would kind of go teach kids and do some more kids, just like you, Jenny. And they changed hundreds of kids' lives. It was amazing.
Two people.
What a legacy.
That kind of impact and that kind of legacy.
Helpers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Always need the help.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's necessary, isn't it?
Fantastic. So if you're a young person in this area and they've stumbled upon this episode, what is sort of on offer for them in terms of drop-ins or support?
Yeah, so our main project in Bookham is Be Youth, and it's in St Nicholas Pastoral Centre at the moment. Obviously, we're getting a new youth centre built on Lower Road Rec, but currently that's the great news. But currently in St Nicholas Pastoral Centre, so the churches have massively helped us out with sort of locations. Which the easiest way to find it is if you go between Heads Up and Carolinas on the High Street. If you go down the alleyway, we're right at the end.
Okay.
And that's all the video games and table football, etc., cooking. So that's Mondays and Fridays, 4:15 to 6:15.
Oh, amazing. Great. So basically after school, wander down and you'll be there.
Yeah, we're always there.
Oh, fantastic.